Hi. Well, let's get started. And today I want to present verbs. If I were to teach English like I teach Latin, this is what I would do. And we're starting with verbs because Wheelock Chapter 1 starts with verbs. And let's pick an English verb. Call. Today I call, yesterday I called. In the past I have called. Call, called. This gives us all the forms of English that we need. Let's look at another one. Walk. Today I walk, yesterday I walked. In the past I have walked. When you think about English verbs, you may not have thought about it in this way, but you understand it. Walk, walked, walked. I have a couple others. Love. Love, loved, loved. Today I love, yesterday I loved. In the past I have loved. Praise. Today I praise, yesterday I praised. In the past I have praised. These are the forms of the English verbs that you're familiar with. Ring, rang, rung. Today I ring the bell. Yesterday I rang the bell. In the past I have rung the bell. Bring, brought, brought. Today I bring a book to school. Yesterday I brought the book to school. And in the past I have brought the book to school. What else? Eat. Eat, ate, eaten. Break, broke, broken, broken. Again, these are the verbs. This is the way in English we might want to present verbs to students who don't speak English. And we can get everything we need from that. Today I ring, yesterday I rang, the bell rung, I have eaten. And I think as you group these words together in English, we come up with some things, some similarities if we were to group them. For example, many of our verbs, we would put together, we just add an ed at the end. Use, used and used. That's another one. Asked, helped. To form the past tense of a verb, we often add an ed to the end of it. And those might go in one group. In the same way, we have another group of words like ring, rang, rung, swim, swam, swum. There's not as many of those verbs, are there? I'm off the top of my head, I can't think of a lot more. Yet another group. Bring, brought, brought. Teach, taught, taught. Buy, bought, bought. Oh, that's a group that goes together for sure. And I don't know which would be more popular. And it doesn't matter for this discussion. But the point is, we would group these words together. What do we do with broke, break, broken? Oh, eat, ate, eaten, break, broke, broken. Those might go into a completely irregular group altogether. The point of this is, however you want to group them, I would argue, and I think you could hopefully see, that most of them would fall, or we would get a large chunk of verbs, and they're very regular. If we introduce students to the most regular verb and say, oh yeah, just add ed to the end, and that will be the first group of words we learn. I mean, you don't want to start out with somebody who's saying eat, ate, and eaten because there's no consistency. Does that make sense? This very same thing is we're going to do in Latin. And this is how we are going to introduce Chapter 1 in Latin with what, oddly enough, the first conjugation. First and second conjugation. Let's continue with the English before we go there. Now that we have our principle. Well, what's principle? Principle equals main. Principle parts of our English verbs. Again, I'm very much aware that we may not have learned them that way, and I don't even know if anybody teaches them that way, but this is how I'm going to teach Latin, so this is how we're starting it. Our principal parts of the verbs, we can form anything we need, any of the verb tenses we need. What else do we need with verbs? A person. We need who is doing the eating, who is doing the praising, who is doing the loving. We can say I, you, and then he, she, or it. And I'll talk about these in just a second, but we all know what I, you, and he, she, or it are. We, you, that's a different you than the other one, and they. These are our subjects. How we form a sentence in English is get a subject and a verb. I eat, you eat, he eats, we eat, you eat, they eat. That's how it works, and you all know this. You need to get a group of one of these words, and you couple it with a verb, and that's how you make your sentence. That's how you make your thought, as it were. Now we have terms for these. We have terms for these things. The I, you, he, she, or it, well, singular and plural. Let's do that, because I think that makes sense. Singular, one. Plural, more than one. Everything in this column, in this first column here, is singular. Everything in this column here is plural. We live in the South, so we can say the plural you equals y'all. Now we have what we call our number. First, second, third. I'm the most important, so I'm number one, first person. 2, second person. And 3 is the third person. That's how we refer to them. First person, singular. Second person, plural. Third person, plural. These are how we indicate things. So if I talk about third person plural, I go to the number 3, and in the plural column, it's they. There's baseball player Ricky Henderson was famous for talking about himself in the third person. Oh, Ricky's going to have a great game. Oh, did you see Ricky today? That's the third person talking about himself in the third person. We'll get used to these. You use these terms all the time. I know you say, I ate. I know you use these words all the time. You just may not have thought about them in this way. Let me make a note here. He, she, or it, or they. They are pronouns. If we have a noun that can substitute in, that works just as well. This can be he, she, or it, or the actual noun. Bob. Bob runs. He runs. So there's no other word to substitute for you. You are unique, if you want to think about it that way. There's no substitution. So, now that we have our verbs, and now that we have our subject, we can fully conjugate an English verb. Where do you want to start? I walk. You walk. He walks. We walk. You, plural, walk. And they walk. We have conjugated in the present tense an English verb. Conjugate means to join it together with its subject, with its the pronoun there, or the noun if we have it, and make a verb. Let's use another, make a thought. Let's use another one. Let's use praise. I praise. You praise. She praises. We praise. You praise. And they praise. You have just conjugated an English verb. Let's do a little test. We're going to use the English word help. Provide me a form of help in the second person singular. Second person singular. Oh, you help. What do I mean by this? What am I doing? What's going on here? Remember, I, you, he, she, or it, we, you, they. And if we want to make a little box out of that, this is singular, plural, 1, 2, 3. So just like in Battleship, E4. I don't know how many it goes. I guess. And I don't know which is which. But it's the same idea. Second person singular. I go to the second person, which is you. And in the singular or plural column, there you go. Let's do third person plural for help. Third person, it's either he, she, or it, or they, and they help. First person singular, I help. So we are randomly, I guess, conjugating the verb help in the present tense. Let's go a little bit further. Not necessarily, this goes beyond the scope of chapter 1, but it's English. You get it. In the present tense, what verb do we want to use? Let's use ask. I ask. First person singular. You ask. Second person singular. He, she, or it asks. Third person singular. We ask. First person plural. You, or you all, ask. And the third person plural is they ask. This is the present tense. How do we do the future tense? Just for fun in English. We're not going to do the future tense in Latin right yet, but let's talk about the future tense in English. We have the same thing. We just insert a tense indicator. I will ask. You will ask. He, she, or it will ask. We will ask. You will ask. And they will ask. Now we have conjugated the verb ask in the future tense in English. And let's do one more. Let's do the past tense. And I'm going to differentiate. We're going to do the simple past tense. In English, think about it. We have a couple different past tenses. I have asked, or I asked. We're just going to deal with the simple right now. And if this is too complicated, if I'm just like blowing your mind right now, don't sweat it. Just stick with this right here, right now. The past tense, I asked. You asked. He, she, or it asked. We asked. You asked. And they asked. We have conjugated fully in the present active system in English the verb ask, the present tense, the future tense, and the simple past tense. Right now, relax. We're just going to worry about the present tense. But I wanted to present this to you in a way that you might not have thought about it. I don't doubt that. You may not have been presented with it this way. You may not have thought about it in this way. But I think it makes sense to you. And if it doesn't make sense to you, that's okay. Raise your hand if it doesn't. Or contact me. And we'll make sure it makes sense. But again, we are focusing on the present tense. Okay? That's what we're going to focus on. Eventually we'll get to the future and the perfect tense, or the past tense, and even beyond that. But I want you to focus now on the present tense. Okay. Let's go to Latin. In the same way that if I were present to someone learning English, I have to give them all the forms of the English verb. In other words, if they want to know, how do I say eat in English? And if I say, if I choose one, I say ate, well, they're not going to be able to form the present tense. Or if I give it to them in writing and say, oh, you just need to worry about eat. Well, how do they say ate. I mean, they wouldn't know how to say that. In other words, if I were to truly present the verb eat to somebody, I would need to say eat, ate, and eaten. Those are the three verbs, three words you need to fully express the idea of eating. That's what's going on when you look in the dictionary. That's what's going on when you look in chapter 1 of your vocabulary. They tell you amo, amare, amawi, amatum is the Latin word for love. Habeo, habere, habawi, habatum is to have. Well, which one of these means love and which one of these means have? It's exactly the same thing as all of these verbs here. It's exactly the same thing as walk, walked, and walked. If I want to use the present tense, I would use the first one. I call. Oh, what if I want to use the past tense? Something I did yesterday. Oh, then I have to go to called. Exact same thing here. I use the first two for the present tense or the future tense, so then we'll get to all the other uses of it. But for now, for chapter 1, we're going to stick with the first two parts for the present tense, and we're going to worry about the last two, the amawi and the amatum, or the habui and the habatum. We're going to worry about those in, I don't know what chapter it is, 9, 10, 13. I don't remember. Not as far as 13. Doesn't matter. We're only focusing for now on the first two. Let me tell you this, though. Do not skimp. Do not cheat yourself. Memorize all 4 principal parts. Start now. Amo, amare, amawi, amatum. Habeo, habere, habui, habatum. Learn all 4 of them. Don't. This is not the place to take a shortcut. How's that? Could I be any more emphatic? Perhaps. But that should be emphatic enough for you. Okay. So we have the verbs. Amo, amare, amawi, amatum. In English, you put a letter, a word in front of it. I take the verb walk and I put I in front of it. You take the word walk, if I'm talking about y'all, I put the verb you in front of it. Latin didn't like that. Latin and Spanish and Italian, it's not that wacky, put an ending on the verb instead. In other words, what's the best way to do it? I don't know. Your endings in Latin that equate to I, you, he, we, they, your endings are O, sometimes M, O or M, I will say. How do I know which? We'll get to it. We'll get to that. S, T, M-U-S, T-I-S, N-T. These are your personal endings. They equate to I, you, he, she, it, we, you, remember y'all, and they. We have separate words we put on the front. Latin has little endings they put, well, at the end. So, when we want to take and conjugate a Latin verb, we're going to take the present stem, amo, amare, amawi, amatum. The present stem is the second principal part minus the RE. Okay? So, number 1, the first principal part is always I. I, whatever the verb is. I love, I have, I ought, I praise, I whatever. This first one is always I. The rest of them are going to be built on this second principal part minus the RE. Let's just do it. Let's just do it and this will make sense. Amo, ama, amat, amamus, amatis, amant. Do you see what I did? Let's write down our endings. We'll put them right over here in the corner. O or M, S, T, M-U-S, T-I-S, N-T. Remember, the first principal part, amo, is always number one. That goes right there. So we have amo, and then our stem, ama, this goes over here. Ama, if we want to do it this way, ama, ama, and then we put our endings on it. Amas, amat, amamus, amatis, amant. This corresponds to I love, you love, he, she, it loves, we love, you love, they love. Squeeze that out there at the bottom, at the side. This is how you conjugate a verb in Latin. Let's just do a bunch more. Remember our endings, O or M, S, T, M-U-S, T-I-S, N-T. Let's use laudo. Laudo, laudare, laudavi, laudatum. And I'll just put this artificial line there in the middle just so remember we're only dealing with the first two. And remember this one, the first one is always, the first principal part is always I blank. So laudo is I love. Now the rest of them are going to be built off of this present stem, lauda, 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 lauda. Seems kind of silly, doesn't it? But it's the same thing as if we were to write love, love, loves. That's one peculiarity you have to learn in English. Love, love, love. Doesn't make much sense by itself. Love. Who loves? Oh, we have to add something to it. Exact same thing in Latin. Lauda. Well, who laudas? I don't know who laudas. There's some laudaing going on. I don't know who's doing the laudaing until I put the ending on it. Oh, laudas. Oh, you love. Praise. I said love. I meant praise. Y'all get it. You know where I'm going. Lauda. Lauda. This third one. Who laudas? I don't know who laudas. I need to put the ending on it. T. In the exact same way where you see love all by itself. Who loves? Oh, I need to put something on it. You love. What about the next one? Loves. I can get a clue because there's that S on the end, so I'm going to say it's he, she, or it loves. The same one, laudamus. Oh, that equates to we love. Laudatis. Oh, that equates to you all love. Laudant. That equates to they love. Laudo, I love. Lauda. I say pray, love, and I mean praise because this is the word for praise. Again, I apologize. You'll get that. Laudo, I praise. Laudas, you praise. Laudat, he praises. Laudamus, we praise. Laudatis, y'all praise. Laudant, they praise. In other words, you get that main verb that tells you what's going on, and then you have to train yourself to figure out at the end who's doing that action. It's kind of backwards from English, because in English you see the word first. Oh, you. Oh, there's my subject. You're doing something. What are you doing? It's the other way around in Latin. The other way around, and you just got to get used to it. But once you get there, it's fine. But this works for all the Latin verbs. Woco. I don't even know if this is in chapter 1. Woco. Vocare, vocavi, vocatum. Okay? How do I say you call? The word means to call. O or M is O or M, S, T, M, U, S, T, I, S, N, T. How do I say you call? Oh, you call. There's some woka. I got to get that in there. Woka. That's my verb. Now, what corresponds to you? You singular. S. So I'll just put that S on the end. How do I say they call? Well, I know that I need to put woka. There's some calling going on. Who's doing the calling? They are. Wokant. Any Latin verb I throw in here? Even one that doesn't end in an ARE, but one that is in this dictionary, this chapter. Habeo, habere, habui, habitum. Same thing, we're going to draw the double line just so we know we're not dealing with those yet. Memorize them, memorize them. Habere, great. Habet. Go backwards. There's some habeing going on. And who's doing it? Well, this T tells me that it is he, she, or it. So what you need to do is take every verb, and this is just practice. In other words, when you say, oh, I need to study Latin. How do I study Latin? Take every verb in chapter 1 and conjugate it in the present tense. That means, and this is going to be tedious, and that's okay. And I want you to write them down. And I want your hand to hurt. And that's okay. Woko, wokas, wokot, wokamus, wokatis, wokant. I don't really want your hand to hurt, but it's okay. It's like football practice. I don't want you to be worn out. I don't want you to feel tired after practice. But if you do feel tired after a football practice, you know you've worked hard. Same thing with this. What's another one? Debeo. Debeo. Debase. Debet. Debemus. Debetis. Debent. You need to be able to just let that roll off your tongue there. Just roll off the end of your pen. Debeo, debase, debet, debemus, debetis, debent. What else? Amo, of course. Let's do laudo. Laudo. Laudas. Laudat. Laudamus. Laudatis. Laudant. So, I am completely, totally, utterly serious. How do you study in chapter 1? You take each one of the verbs in the vocabulary list and fully conjugate them in the present tense, just like I've done here. Just write them all out. Good luck.